The LG OLED Flex. I've been geeking out about it since it debuted in Europe. Then I got to check it out in person a few months ago and I formed some opinions. Now that I've had a chance to live with it, well, let's talk about that. Welcome back, everybody. I'm Caleb Dennison, and today we are going to thoroughly check out the LG OLED Flex TV now that I've had a chance to actually sit down and enjoy it for a while. Because, well, here's the thing about being a tech journalist. We fly off to these trade shows and launch events where these exciting new products are launched with a lot of glamour and glitz and free drinks and food. And even for a jaded journalist who's been at this game for over a decade, it's hard not to get a little caught up in the moment. Add to that the fact that at best, we might get 15 minutes or so to check a product out. And honestly, it's hard to come away with a lot of meaningful insight. I think first impressions are totally valid, and it's fun to look forward to getting a deeper experience with the product. I mean, the anticipation is at least half the fun, right? But with all of that said, as I flew home after seeing the LG OLED Flex here, I felt pretty comfortable with my takeaway, which was, in a nutshell, super cool, and I really love it, but there's no shot I would ever buy one. Which, valid as it may be, could be said about many of the products I review. A lot of stuff that comes into my testing lab is well out of my price range, so I don't think whether I would buy this should be the acid test for its worth. Instead, let's take a look at what it is, what it does, what it doesn't do, compare it to a few other products, and see where we land. Also, you gotta admit, it's just fun to look at, so we'll do plenty of that along the way. And hey, if you like that approach, consider subscribing for more. There's also a few other buttons that you can click down below this video. And while you're down there, maybe leave a comment about what you think about the blurring lines between TVs and monitors, because if anything blurs those lines, it's the LG OLED Flex here. Okay, so let's start out by making something very clear. This is a TV. It has a tuner built in, along with an RG6 coaxial connection for an antenna, or maybe one of those RF modulators if you're still rocking an OG game console from the late 80s or early 90s. It also has LG's webOS Smart TV platform built in, along with access to all the streaming apps and other stuff webOS is capable of. And to control that, it's got LG's Magic Motion remote. Very TV. It also has full bandwidth HDMI 2.1 ports. It's got a built-in speaker system that isn't terrible, but perhaps the one thing that more than anything else puts this device very squarely into TV territory is the picture processor. It's got an LG Alpha 9 Gen 5 AI processor that you'll find in LG's other OLED TVs like the C2 and the G2 OLEDs. That processor is going to be a key part of the discussion later. The LG OLED Flex is also very much a TV in the ways in which it is not a monitor, if that makes sense. So for instance, there is no DisplayPort connection. Also, there's no bypassing the picture processor. So even though the OLED Flex is capable of some very low input lag, it'll always have a bit more than a monitor that has no picture processor in it at all. There's also not much in the way of anti-glare. But in many ways, I think it's clear that the LG OLED Flex is trying to replace, or at least best, computer monitors. It has built-in RGB on the back. It's mounted on a stand like a monitor with monitor-like adjustment ability. It supports FreeSync Premium and G-SYNC, almost every flavor of HDR. It's brighter than many monitors, and it flexes so it can be curved like many gaming monitors and then go back to being flat. I mean, it seems pretty clear to me that the LG OLED Flex is trying to be the best of both the TV and monitor worlds. The end-all be-all of personal displays. Dare I say the ultimate display? So is it? Is it the ultimate display? And presuming for just a moment that it is, does LG have any right asking $3,000 for this thing? Is that what the ultimate display should cost? Well, I think I have the answers now, or at least I have enough thoughts and perspective to share such that I think you'll arrive at your own answer, assuming you haven't already, and I suspect many of you have and just want to see if you agree with me or not. Fair, I'm into that. So first, let me say this. This setup right here with the SVS Prime wireless speakers and Micro 3000 subwoofer and the PS5, which could just as easily be an Xbox Series X or gaming PC. If I had this on a desk at my home, I might never leave that desk. Like, I have a 75-inch TV in the living room, an OLED TV in my bedroom, and a UST projector with a 100-inch screen and full-on Dolby Atmos system in what might be the most comically tiny little theater room you've ever seen. And still, I think I might find myself sitting in front of this setup for the bulk of my spare time. This 42-inch OLED screen is not too big to sit away from at this distance. It's perfect, actually. The dot pitch is fine enough that I don't see pixels, and it takes up just about my entire field of view. It feels super immersive, even without the curve. It's got perfect black levels, excellent color accuracy thanks to LG's processing, and excellent motion as well. Plus, the OLED pixel response time is a pretty nice bonus as well. And while the built-in speakers are totally decent, certainly better than what you'd find on most monitors, I really wanted sound as good as the picture, and for that, the SVS Prime Wireless are perfect, though there are several other powered speakers that would also match up really well. It's just that in this case, I can use the HDMI eARC output from the TV to feed them a signal. Oh, and that little subwoofer, most of the time I don't need it, but when I watch movies on this setup, it is super nice to have because that subwoofer is ridiculously powerful. Don't let the size fool you. No doubt, this is one of the most fun setups I've used to watch movies and TV and play console games. And I say that with a 97-inch OLED and full-on Klipsch Atmos speaker system in the other room. Check out that video if you haven't already, by the way. So this makes especially good sense for consoles, but it can also work well for PC. I mean, it is a 16:9 aspect ratio display, which lends itself well to movies, TV shows, and console games. But since it is so big, even when you throw an ultra-wide 21:9 aspect ratio image up on this thing, you still get an image that's bigger than what you'd get on most 21:9 aspect ratio monitors. In fact, if my math is correct, it's a bit larger than a 34-inch ultra-wide monitor, like the Alienware QD-OLED. Speaking of which, let's just bring that thing into the discussion now. If there is an ultimate monitor right now, I think we can safely say that it's the Alienware QD-OLED. This 34-inch ultra-wide has some of the best picture quality available on the market right now. It isn't the biggest monitor, but it does have an aggressive curvature to it. It gets fairly bright, but it's really about those perfect black levels. Very good color accuracy, gamut, and volume, and ridiculously low input lag. It's designed to be a gamer's monitor, and our computing team loves it. There are more extreme monitors out there, and I'll get to them, but how does the LG OLED Flex hold up to the Alienware QD-OLED monitor for PC use? Well, I suppose that depends on what we mean by PC use. If we're talking about games and entertainment, the LG OLED Flex wins. I think I've listed off most of the reasons why, but as a reminder, it's bigger, it's brighter, it has better overall picture quality thanks to its processor, it does HDR right, and you don't need to connect a source to it to enjoy movies and TV shows because just about every entertainment app you want is baked right in. Add a console or PC and game until you pass out. But as a productivity monitor, well, my buddy Jake Roach on the computing team says not so much when it comes to the LG OLED Flex for PC productivity. Jake's been using a 42-inch Asus ROG PG42UQ, basically an LG C2 OLED TV in a monitor's clothing with DisplayPort, USB ports, and more of a monitor vibe in general. And he told me that it's great for when he kicks back with a console controller, be that for console gaming or PC gaming. It's a better experience than a traditional PC monitor for that. But when it comes to spreadsheets and Word docs and web design, Photoshop, video editing, you know, PC productivity stuff, well, that's where a PC monitor is just a better fit. And a lot of that has to do with how Windows scales apps. They aren't meant to be on bigger screens, which is why I always get kind of an antsy feeling when people ask how a TV I'm reviewing works as a computer monitor. I mean, generally, the answer is going to be it doesn't work great for that. Anyway, what Jake told me makes sense to me. And also, I just think that PC productivity would be an absolute waste of the LG OLED Flex's time. I also think it would be a waste of the Asus ROG monitor's time, or pretty much any other extreme monitor since we're on the subject. I mean, folks, this thing wasn't made for Word and Excel or even Adobe Premiere. If you're wondering how it would do for that kind of application, well, I'd say it would do well enough to get you by so long as you aren't buying it for those purposes. Like, if you've got to get your accounting side hustle going on between Call of Duty campaigns, sure, you'll be good. But the LG OLED Flex isn't built for that. I mean, that'd be a waste. It's meant for fun, folks. I mean, if you find Excel spreadsheets fun, well then, bless your heart. The world needs folks like you. Thank you for your service. But this is not a PC productivity piece, okay? I think we can leave that point alone now. So if I was gonna spend a bunch of money to get the ultimate display, would I get the LG OLED Flex here? Well, just for fun? Sure, why not? I mean, the Flex is fun, the RGB is fun, this piece is just fun, all wrapped up with a bow. But it is an expensive package of fun, and we just can't ignore that. The good news is, based on the experience that I've had with the OLED Flex here, I would 100% throw money down on a 42-inch LG C2 OLED TV as a desktop monitor / entertainment rig. And I'd take the money that I saved not buying the LG OLED Flex and spend it on these SVS Prime wireless speakers. I'd slap some RGB light strips on the back of the C2 OLED and get brighter, more controllable RGB effects. Snap up a console. I mean, I could buy everything on this desk plus the LG C2 OLED TV, or I could get just the OLED Flex. I mean, I know what I'm doing. And I would still sleep just fine at night knowing that I didn't get the Flex feature, because at the end of the day, I'm not sure that curve is bringing enough to the table. And besides, guess what the first thing to break on a TV with moving parts is gonna be? The moving parts. That motor goes out and you're stuck with whatever position the screen is in. Now, that's not a commentary on the build quality of this piece. I'm just saying, you know as well as I do that the motor is going to give out well before the screen does. So while I have definitely enjoyed having the LG OLED Flex here in this room and would 100% have one in my home if I could, what I appreciate about it most is what it's taught me about the state of TVs versus computer monitors. What's really important to me when it comes to personal entertainment, and also where LG's collective minds are at when it comes to blurring lines and pushing boundaries. Maybe I'm not gonna buy an LG OLED Flex, but I am very glad it exists, if for no other reason because of what it tells me about how fun the future is looking right now. Is it the ultimate display? Perhaps not, but only because I'm not sure such a thing could exist in today's world. Is it one of the most exciting displays I've ever had the pleasure of using though? Without a doubt, yes. Thanks as always for watching, everyone. What do you think about the LG OLED Flex, and do you hope to see more like it at CES this year? Leave me a comment about that down below. Don't forget to like and subscribe, and here's 2 other videos I think you might like.